Okay, so let's talk about the goon, the Don at 75. Our guy, Artur
Who almost
Beterbiev,
didn't make it.
who almost didn't
He
make
was a
it.
little heavy.
Mm-hmm.
A little heavy. I'm a little concerned about that.
What do we think about that?
Have you talked to any possible insiders that you
I
are
kn-
friends with
I know
in that
people.
camp?
I
You
know
know, you know
people
some
in that
people.
camp.
You know some
I
people.
do. I know people in Artur's camp. There were talks of me possibly walking him to the ring when he fought in Philly. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Would have been incredible, man.
What happened?
My man, my man Ice.
Yeah.
John Scully, trained Chad Dawson.
Yep.
He works with Artur. Works with our guy, correct? You know, Ice. Ice trained with the legendary Vinnie Paz, sparring partner, former pro, current trainer,
New Englander,
good trainer, New Englander, high boxing IQ. The guy knows boxing. That needless to say, he knows boxing. He's a trainer and he's a pro.
Right.
The only thing we disagree on is Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard. He thinks Ray won, and
really,
I do not. Yes, and I do not. So listen, yeah. Well, when he fought Alexander Gvozdyk, that was in Philly. That was October 2019. Ice hit me up and was like, "Yo, maybe you could you know, maybe Artur, like welcome to the ring, you know."
Right.
But Correct was coming into town for the fight.
Oh.
But I don't know about that stuff. It makes me nervous.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you into that as an artist?
I think when you see, everyone who listens to our show sees when you have an artist walk someone to the ring of any genre, there really isn't a premium put on how good it sounds. The acoustics are weird.
Yeah,
you're hearing something different in your ears that the crowd is hearing. A lot of the Mexicano fighters that come out with bands, that shit sounds good. That shit sounds good.
Right.
But that's live bands, But when you're singing, say it's R&B, say it's hip hop, and there's like a backing track, that stuff has a high possibility of not sounding good. You know what I mean? Which makes me very nervous. I if I'm being honest with you, it's almost 2 years, a little over 2 years since it happened. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember if I was like, "Yo, can we make sure it's can we do a run through?" And like we couldn't. Or, I don't remember, But shout out to Artur and that camp for even thinking of me. But I didn't ask Ice about the weight. I'm not sure what happened. The guy trains like a machine. The guy is a machine. Look, man.
I wonder if I wonder.
Look, you wrestled in high school. You had to cut weight.
No, not yet.
There was a time I'm going back to high school and the 5 years after it, where I would cut weight. I know how difficult it is. There is no excuse for any fighter. He made it. So we're not critiquing it. He made it. There was a little problems there. He didn't seem drained in the fight. For Christ's sake.
I'm curious if it's a difference in calibration of scales. If they're saying, "Hey,
absolutely right.
You look good. You look good. You look good," and then they get there and like, "Oh shit," you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck happened?
You're also. It's a different system. B.
I would.
When you're talking about Montreal, Europe. You know what I'm saying? These places aren't on the same system.
Well, I mean, he's pretty much trains out of Montreal.
Yes,
right, and he lives there. So
scale calibration.
I would love to. I would love for someone out there to write us. That's kind of what was my segue to this. Write us.
Do you want me to ask Ice what happened?
If you want.
Or will it be a dated?
Might be a dated
by next time.
I was just curious about if anybody knows anything about if they have any inside info of, hey, this scale, everything look great, and then we get there and it's like, oh shit, we're an eighth of a pound off, we're this much off. But Anyway,
Hey,
it's just a
listen,
different topic for a different-
that team is all class.
Mhm.
Beterbiev and his team. Marcus Browne was a dickhead and difficult leading up to it, pre-fight, post-fight.
I didn't see the post-fight. What did he do post-fight?
Archer went over to embrace him, and he wasn't having it. Similar to Fury Wilder. Went over to give him a hug, brushed him off. No, type thing. Talking crazy beforehand, and I'm not talking about shit talking to sell a fight. I'm talking about weird stuff.
Right.
We also know his history as a man. He's beaten the same ex, beaten her bad, choked her 4 times, never done a day in jail, copped pleas. So 4 felony assault charges somehow went away against a woman. So of course I wanted to see his head flown. Back when they started hyping him, you know, because he was part of that 2012 Olympic team.
Yeah.
So everyone I know from Staten Island was gassing him up, whether it be the Woo dudes or people I know in my daily life from Staten Island. And when I heard the kind of man he was, I was always wanted to see him lose, you know. Once I heard about that, prior to that, Olympian, cool, let's go. I'm with you. I'm with this kid.
Right.
You know, any
Yeah, I remember
Olympian?
that was a surprising thing, like in the boxing world, that this guy, because he always seemed like a nice guy, did I remember they did like a sort of heartfelt story about his life. He's from the projects over there.
Yeah. Stapleton or Park Hill.
I think Park Hill, and the Jimmy boxes out of his in Park Hill.
Yeah. It's Park Hill Boxing Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened to that guy. And yeah, there's a lot of questions about his character.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought his career was kaput based on what you just said, the assault charges, and all of a sudden it went away.
Well, Beterbiev might have made it kaput in the other way.
Yeah, one of the surprising things that I didn't know was that he changed trainers. He was with the Andre Rozier, Gary Stark.
Yes, the Brooklyn guys.
Yeah, Sheriff Yunnan, the Brooklyn / Staten Island. If you guys out there don't know, Brooklyn and Staten Island are just a river away from each other. So you just cross over the Verrazano Bridge, and most people from Brooklyn and or Staten Island have ties to both boroughs.
It's why guys out there that are hip hop fans, that some of the Woo guys are actually from Brooklyn. Even though they rep
right. Like
dirty,
for instance,
just
even close to home here. My wife, born and raised in Brooklyn, most of her family lives in Staten Island. It's a more suburban, for lack of a better term. You can buy a house there. It's much cheaper than Brooklyn. Anyway, whatever the case may be, there's a lot of ties, Brooklyn and Staten Island. So again, we see guys from Brooklyn going to Staten Island to train and vice versa. So this is one of those cases. So he changed trainers to Derek James, who is Errol Spence's trainer. I don't know if Browne moved. I think they said he moved to New Jersey. He's fighting out of Carteret, New Jersey, which is like right next to Newark. So I guess he moved to New Jersey, and Derek James is a trainer out of Houston. I didn't know that until the ring walk, but I haven't really kept up on Marcus Browne news.
Well, I have a couple questions for you regarding the fight. Because all right, we said what we said about him and his character, whatever. That's not for us to decide, I suppose. So let me ask you a question that's general that applies to this. What do you think about guys that stylistically are described as come forward stalker type guys? I'll throw someone at you. Start from the past, Julio Cesar Chavez. Right. And then
the most famous.
Most famous. And I'll move up a little more recent to you and say Gennady Golovkin, who, while his boxing skills are extremely underrated, let's just for this argument put him in here.
Both guys, by the way.
Yes. Underrated boxing ability on both of them. Let's put Beterbiev, for the sake of this argument, in that category of a guy at 175 that's similar to Golovkin. I got a guy on my Instagram who said Marcus was giving him that work. how do you feel about guys that will give away a couple rounds? Now, I'm not talking about slow starters because that's different. I
Right.
think there's a difference with people who give away a couple because they're downloading information and they're putting it into the computer against guys who are coming forward. These guys, in my opinion, okay, I haven't talked to them separate. My opinion with Chavez, with Gennady Golovkin and Beterbiev, it's more of not I'm downloading information, is I want to see what you're going to throw at me and how much it hurts.
Yes.
Not how much it hurts, what you have. Do you
Right.
have mustard on these shots? Because if you don't, you're fucked.
Right.
And I'm going to assess that. And if you have something, even if it's just to keep me honest, now I go into this other plan. Because great fighters, good ones too, but great fighters have plan A, B, C, D, and certainly their trainers. So it's my opinion. You can tell me I'm wrong. That Chavez to Golovkin to a Beterbiev, this style, and you know what that style is that I mean. We can talk to the listeners about what we would call that. Is very much. I just want to see what this guy has.
Let me just take the baton here.
All right.
These guys. And I'm speaking specifically to people that will write you.
Should we get some money that I'm sipping on this Red Bull?
You got to turn it around, bud.
No, I can't drink it then, you retard.
No, you got to show the fans. You got to show the viewers. There you
go.
No,
the gimmick, the thing.
This guy Vinnie is drinking Red Bull. So hey,
this thing with Tootie.
This show brought to you by Red Bull. It's giving us wings.
It's giving me something.
And Pellegrino. This is what I'm drinking. So, look, Artur Beterbiev, Julio Cesar Chavez, Gennady Golovkin. Lots of their fights ended within the distance. Okay, lots of their in the case of Beterbiev, all of his fights have ended within the difference.
17 of 17
in the distance. What I'm going to say something right now is specifically to the people like the guy writing you, Marcus Browne, giving him that work. Artur Beterbiev, each guy has trained for each opponent specifically. They've watched, hopefully, likely. I don't believe people like Floyd say they don't watch film. I don't buy it.
I don't either.
And if Floyd doesn't watch film, and again, don't mean to go off on this tangent like we do. Someone on the team in the corner has watched film.
Correct.
If Floyd hasn't watched film, he's been to their fucking fights live.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the opponent.
Right.
They train for a 12-round fight. So if a guy like Marcus Browne, who they think is going to fade in the middle rounds or the latter half of the fight, and Beterbiev is going to start, as you said, putting more mustard on his shots, they are going to find out in the first 2 or 3 rounds to see what Browne has. Browne is not a massive knockout artist. He's not a one-punch KO guy. So yes, Beterbiev may not look spectacular in the first 1 or 2 or 3 rounds. And if you haven't done your research on said fighter, you may think, oh, he's a knockout artist. To me, he's got 16 knockouts. That must mean they all must be Mike Tyson, and they happen in 91 seconds. That's not how it works. That's not what Artur Beterbiev is training for. Hey, if that happens, they get a short night, everybody goes home, they get paid the same amount of money. Hooray. Beterbiev, I could see what he was doing. It's exactly what you said. And I'll give Browne credit. Browne was moving well. Browne was putting punches together well in the first couple rounds. Beterbiev, again, we also fall victim to the commentary. The commentary also seemed a bit surprised as to what was happening. All 3 guys.
Can I interrupt? Okay. Can I interrupt? Guys, we're also talking about 2012 Olympian and a guy with only 1 loss, too.
Right.
Who's slick, can fight.
He can fight, right.
Solid guy.
This is a multiple national amateur champion,
yes.
World-class fighter.
Yes. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Also,
the people understood that didn't know who they were fighting, because you and I big people up, and they might not know the opponents of the people you and I big up. They go, well, who's he? And when you're a casual fan, the easiest thing to go is, who's he? Who did he fight? You know, when people say that about Lomachenko, my man, it's not my fault you don't know who Nicholas Walters is, and he was the most feared puncher in the division. That's not my fault.
Right.
That you don't know who he is. You know what I mean? That's your fault. So sorry for the tangent.
Right.
Go ahead, so, my bad.
if you watch and you know what you're watching, yeah, Browne was the whole time. Browne was fighting off the back foot, and Beterbiev was in his face, in that center line that we talk about, not letting Browne move, punching in spots, but making Browne work the whole time. So you and I talk with Lomachenko about pace. Beterbiev was setting a pace. Golovkin sets a pace. Chavez sets a pace. You know how hard it is to keep up with that pace? So what happens is they'll listen to their corner. They'll listen to a guy like Mark Ramsey. Mark Ramsey will say, okay, they were calling for a certain punch. They call it the Campillo. It's the one that Beterbiev knocked Campillo
Yeah,
out with.
Campillo out. Yeah, I like
Right.
that they do that.
That they do that, right?
Yeah,
Campillo,
and
Campillo.
you will hear them yell that if you pay attention
Right.
moving forward,
So,
or if you rewatch anything post Campillo.
right. They mentioned it on the broadcast, but I think part of it is due to the language barrier a bit. You know, Ramsey speaks French first, English second. Beterbiev speaks Russian first, English second. And in the heat of things, I'm sure it's very difficult, because if you speak a different language, they hear it in one language, translate it in their brain in another language, and then speak it back. And so anyway, long story short,
real quick, let's there is the language of boxing. Let's agree to that.
So they come up. So, but I think, in my opinion, and I would love for you to ask guys, they come up with saying that, you know, Campillo, and that's just easier than saying
right. Throw, loop
yeah.
the shot. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that's
it would be like Golovkin. Remember, it's the similar shot with Marco Antonio Rubio.
Yeah.
That looping shot on the top
of his head. Yeah.
Right.
Rubio.
I'm sure. Is that what you said? Rubio.
Yeah.
Right. No, you're right. Is there shorthand out of these camps? You brought up Mark Ramsey. I wanted to say that Ice, who is very honest about stuff like that. Ice and Correct have both said, yo, that guy's the way that guy runs this gym, that he's next up in regards to, you know how there's always
people flocking to that gym to train.
Right. There's that trainer du jour,
right?
As they say, right. From what these guys are telling me, having actually been there in camps. Right. You know, just keep his, you know, we know who he is, me and you.
Right.
But I'm saying the guys that are listening, just watch for him. Because we try to do that on this show. We've talked about Boots Ennis since we started the show. We try to tell you about things before they become part of, you know, the lexicon. We try to hip you guys so you can get on the train, you know. So
I've always wanted to go a fight up there at the Bell Center. But yeah. So I just wanted to point out, Beterbiev is setting the pace. Even though it appears that Marcus Browne is doing well, and he was doing as good as Marcus Browne could.
Optics.
Beterbiev is making him work for each and every inch that he's trying to gain. Right.
Optics. Caleb Plant, Canelo.
Right. Yes. Optics. Right. So everyone's screaming, look how great Plant's doing. Look how great Plant's doing. And then what happens? What happens, Vinny? What happens is, whether it's Canelo's trainers, whether it's Beterbiev's trainers, this is part of what you call the game plan, what I call a game plan. Whether it's Bud Crawford, you saw it in the Porter fight. They told him it's time for urgency. You're down a little bit in this fight. I am? Okay. You know what I mean? And he went out there and he parked them. So, and
I used it then too. Remember, optics.
Right.
Yo, Porter's winning. Porter's doing good.
Right.
While Bud's smiling. Legitimately smiling. I'm not saying that.
Not that
that's
Buzz.
Not hyperbole.
Yeah.
No. He's smiling.
Yes.
He's peppering him with jabs, smiling.
Literally smiling. Right.
You don't have much longer.
Right. So, again, guys, if you really have a question about it, go rewatch the fight. Again, Marcus Browne was doing as good as Marcus Browne was going to do. He's doing well. But that's not meaning that Beterbiev is still setting the pace. Beterbiev, without landing his signature big punches, is still making Browne work so hard, because like I said, guys, they don't train for 5 rounds. They don't train for 6 rounds. They don't train for 3 rounds. They train really for 15 rounds.
15.
They only fight 12. So
a lot of guys will have their guys train for 15.
Right. So what I'm getting at, guys, is yes. And you, that specific guy who decides to tweet or decides to be a a contrarian when Vinny or myself will say, wow, Beterbiev looked great. And your first response is, yeah, but he was getting touched up the first couple rounds. Okay. Zab Judah was beating Floyd the first couple rounds. Okay. And Floyd basically frustrated him. And again, not to go on a tangent, but I just want to point to a very popular fight and a popular fighter and a popular example. To the point where Zab low blowed him and started an in-ring and punched him behind the head and started an in-ring brawl in a fight he was winning. That's how frustrated he got, because the pace Floyd was setting made him so uncomfortable that he did that. In the case of this fight, when Marcus Browne gets boxed in or is losing, he headbutts. Okay. And I wrote this on your Twitter. I think it was your Twitter. No, it was your Instagram. I said, the commentators need to stop calling headbutts accidental when it's like 3 or 4 or 4 out of 5 fights in a row where the opponent has the same cut in the same spot with the same fighter. It's no longer an accidental headbutt. So right then and there, and I thought they were going to stop this motherfucker.
Oh, how many times live texting were we doing, B?
Right. Like, yo, I said, yo, this is it.
Vin, it's over. Then next round for me. B, this is
yo, and
Crimson Mask. Like, we're talking Ric Flair cutting himself against Dusty.
Right.
Like, yo, man, this.
And by the way, Browne was up at that point in the fight. So had they stopped it, I believe the announcer said it was going to go to the cards. Had it gone to the cards, Beterbiev likely would have lost. Ring doctors came in, looked at it, said 1 more round. Beterbiev looked phenomenal. The sense of urgency kicked in because he's a fucking professional. And then they said, all right, it'll go another round. And I believe the announce team also made a comment. It was pretty funny. They were like, yeah, we've seen this before. The doctor says 1 more round, then it's 1 more round, then it's 1 more round, then it's 1 more round. So in the end, Beterbiev finishes him with, it was a right hand to the body, then a left hand.
Those body shots. You talk about you talk about attrition and accumulation, B.
Right.
They were landing. You and I have spoken about being at certain fights live, and some we were at the same ones,
right?
Where the shots sound like bombs, or when you hear people. I mean, I don't mean to be non-PC when guns go off in places they shouldn't. Some people's shots, like Golovkin shots live, would sound like buck shots.
I remember Daniel Gill, I've said it on the show, screaming.
We were both there.
Yeah, screaming so loud that my wife goes, what the fuck is that? She got me those tickets for something, birthday or anniversary or whatever. And
my brother and I were there.
She was like, what is that fucking screaming? Who's screaming like that? And it was funny.
Yeah.
There was another couple next to us that we were like friendly with at the fight, and the guy leans over and he goes, that's Gil. You know what I mean? He said it just like that.
Right.
She goes, my wife goes, holy shit. Just like that, like, oh, wow. Yeah. But so anyway.
Yeah. Oh, hey, there's something I didn't bring up to you, B. This could be problematic. First of all, you saw the picture of him stitched up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well,
now he looks like fucking scarier.
Yes. Guys, there's no good place to cut in boxing, but where he was cut was not above either. Dead in the middle. I wanted to mention something to you, B. The night of the fight, and we were so caught up in the action because the undercard was terrible. So once maybe the worst I've seen in 2 decades. Anyway, it comes up and we're like back and forth. Oh, that's just gonna stop. What I forgot to tell you is, bro, and nobody spoke about this. Nobody did. No podcasts, no experts. In Islam, be from praying 5 times a day. Have you ever seen any of your Muslim? I know you have Muslim friends. A prayer mark. It's in Arabic. It's called zabiba. Zabiba. Okay. It's a mark from praying so often.
Bowing your head.
There's a strong chance that area of his head from prostration is weakened because of that. I do not like he's devout. I know that personally, not from seeing stuff. I know personally how devout he is. I don't know how well that's going to heal without that. Someone, meaning someone from his team, has to get a doctor to properly cover that. So when he makes his 5 daily prayers, if you do it the way we saw it, the picture we saw, it's going to reopen when he makes a lot. So first off, I believe that as dirty as Browne is with the headbutt, that there's a strong possibility that because of Zebiba, the prostration mark, you know, is how we say it in English, you know, the prostration mark from prayer is already weakening that part. Okay, that's already from years. You're talking about a 36-year-old man that's been praying all those 36 years, five times a day, 365, and as devout as he is, he's making salah more often than that. Okay, so upwards of 10, depending, you know. So, but that's we don't need to talk about that. But what I'm saying is, I'm giving you factual evidence that that part of his head is absolutely more prone to be open. You know, I've never thought about it previous with Muslim fighters because it's not over the eyes. You're not affected by this when you pray.
Well, maybe we'll do a little research and find out if he has gone to a plastic surgeon. And
I'm just curious right now what they're doing. Is there a bandage over the?
Can now? I know nothing about religion, any of it. Can he bow into a like pillow or softer? Does it have to touch the ground? Does his head have to touch the ground?
It does.
It does.
Yeah. Now, look. Again, we don't know.
Right.
But I wanted to bring that up, and I meant to bring it up to you the night of the fight. I'm going to tell you why. Well, we know why it happened because Marcus Browne does that, but why it's, you know, a possibility. You know what I'm saying? This is what we do on this show. If we know something, or we know something, the inner workings, or we know something that the average bear doesn't know, we bring it to the table to let you guys decide. You know.
So what do we see? Beterbiev, where do we see him going forward? What do you want to see?
Look, everyone's calling for Canelo. The same people that were telling me that Marcus Browne was giving him work, everybody is saying Canelo will trash Beterbiev for the reasons they're giving are all uneducated. So I'm not going to repeat them.
Not this little redhead.
I
don't know if you saw my tweet. I said, I don't think Canelo goes anywhere near him. I think he's too big and too strong. I had a bunch of DMs. Brendan, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And I've been consistent. I don't think that this fight, I think Beterbiev's skill set is underrated.
Well, can I build off that real quick and then let you go?
Fine.
Look, man, I'm all charged up. I said, look what I talk about.
I'm getting distracted by this headshot of Billy. I'm actually
yeah. Irish Billy, our producer, it's ridiculous. So you guys see this headshot. No, I said I was talking about Beterbiev after the fight, and I said his ring IQ, footwork, punch selection, his ability to change speed on his shots, beautiful destructive stuff, and that is very criminally slept on because with these guys that are destroyers. I understand that when you're 17-0 with 17 knockouts, that's going to be bestowed upon you. That you are a destroyer and a Michael Myers. It was bestowed upon Golovkin, who in his prime, by Max, the famous line. We now have a boogeyman in the middleweight division. I think was Max's quote. But that was a prime guy that no one wanted to fight. This guy, Artur is 36. He's about to be 37. We spoke about Golovkin ad nauseum on this show. He's going to be 40. People, I think if Canelo takes that fight, it's when Beterbiev is 40. But a lot of what I got was he doesn't have the skills. Canelo's a great counterpuncher. He's better. He'll counter him. And I'm trying to explain to these people, you don't know what you're seeing, which is what you were talking about when you were talking about what he was doing in those rounds. Yes, the optics. Browne looks like he's doing good, but Beterbiev is making him work, making him expend energy.
Right.
He's making you gassed out. Look, not now, not recently. Canelo used to gas. You could see the lactic acid in his back. You know, he doesn't gas like he used to. Could that come out against a guy? Look, if you want to say that Beterbiev is comparable at 75 to a younger Golovkin at middleweight, well, look at those two fights with Canelo and Golovkin.
Right.
The argument on paper, it says there was a draw and there was a win for Canelo. To me, there was a win for Golovkin and a draw. I had the first fight 116, 112.
I had Canelo. I had Golovkin winning the first fight. I think I had it a draw the second fight too.
So
I might have
had
had
it the same way.
Yeah, but I think I might have had Golovkin winning the second fight as well. I can't.
Okay, well, lots of people do. Lots of people.
Right.
Do. I'm trying to be fair and unbiased because I'm straddled with you're a Golovkin guy, which I am. But I know that he's pushing 40 and
right.
But at that time, I was championing him when he was coming out before he was the boogeyman. You know, I was like, watch this guy, watch this guy, watch this guy.
Beterbiev has a lot of tools. Beterbiev is a very big puncher, even at 75. Hey, if I'm proven wrong and they take the fight, I don't see Canelo taking that fight. I just don't see Canelo taking that fight.
But let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you see, is it out of line that I'm looking at a younger Golovkin and comparing Beterbiev to being a 75-pound Golovkin?
No, and I actually think stylistically, I don't see it looked aesthetically, they look different, but as far as destructive punching power, an incredible pace off of their front foot that they set.
Underrated boxing skills, underrated footwork, underrated ability,
underrated
to cut
IQ.
off the ring against a guy that's slick.
Underrated boxing IQ. I don't think the average fan understands.
Agreed.
Giving up rounds sometimes for the investment later. You understand what I'm saying? Like here,
you're putting money in the bank.
Right. I'm going to put a little money in the bank. It's not going to be your typical body shot money in the bank. It's going to be, I'm going to touch you a couple of times, let you know how hard I punch. I'm going to conserve my energy for the 6th and 7th round, but I'm going to stay on my front foot and make you move where I want you to move.
Yep.
And yeah, you may have some success while you have gas in your tank, but you're going to run out. And when you run out, I have a lot of gas left in my tank because it's a lot harder for you to go backwards and side to side than it is for me to walk forward. And that's
we've discussed something before.
And that's what we see with him. But
we've discussed something before, B, and that is this guy, this opponent, doing anything that I don't want him to do? To me, the answer was no.
Right.
To me, with Canelo and Plant, the answer was no. This guy isn't, I'm not allowing this guy to do anything that I don't want him to do.
Right.
If he lands a couple jabs, if he lands a nice shot to the body, I allowed that because that's part of what I'm doing here.
Correct.
No one wants to get hit, by the way. So don't write me that. I didn't say that. I don't mean that. But there's still dictating the pace. I'm in control of what is happening in here.
Yes.
At no point was Marcus Browne in control of what was happening in there. While you're telling me he was putting it. What did I say? The kid said
putting it on.
Marcus was putting it on. However, the Bozo worded it. No. At no point was he dictating the pace or doing what he wanted to do or implementing his game plan. It was all reactionary.
Right.
It was all reactionary to what Artur Beterbiev was doing in there.
Artur Beterbiev was positioning Browne where he wanted him. The whole fight.
Correct. The same way that everything Caleb Plant was doing was a result of what Canelo was doing to him and was the result of that.
Okay.
So look, if we think Canelo is staying away from him, then we have to have a unification with Bivol. That's it. I'm not discussing anything else. I don't mean I'm not discussing anything else. I mean, in regards to what should happen next, I mean, then you unify.
Right. I personally, I called for it on Twitter. For those that follow me, I'd like to see Beterbiev Bivol. That's the fight I want to see. After that fight, I'd like to see the winner and the great Joe Smith Jr. or Zerto.
Oh my God.
You know, if Joe Smith can get through this.
Beterbiev, just Joe Smith,
Well,
Zordo, those
yeah,
guys are
right.
there.
So I would also like to see if they can make it, and I think they can. I think Zerto and Smith would be a good fight, but Joe Smith's fighting Callum Johnson, who actually knocked Beterbiev down a couple of years back on DAZN. He's a big puncher. One of his opponents I spoke to personally, we have mutual friends. Maybe 3 years ago at the New York Metros, we were talking, and he said that he still doesn't have feeling in his face months after the fight with Callum Johnson. Yes, Callum Johnson's a big world-class puncher.
Wow. No, hey, no, I knew that, but that's to hear from a guy that,
right, who fought him.
From a guy.
Yeah. We were kind of hanging out, having beer.
Hey, heavy-handed guy, 2 heavy-handed guys, man. That might be a little something.
Right. I think that fight is going to be fireworks. So
not supremely skilled guys.
No, this is lunch pail guys who
lunch
can bang.
Pail shit. Look,
right.
This is a blue collar fight.
I'd like to see. I really want to see Bivol, who, by the way, I don't even think we really need to discuss much of it. But Bivol won a unanimous decision over the week, last week. So I'd like to see Bivol Beterbiev. That's what I want to see. The Canelo talk. Who knows what the fuck Canelo's doing, but Bivol Beterbiev is the one I want to see. It's a unifier. It's 2 Russian guys. It's 2, amateur standouts. So let's get that fight going, guys.
Superb amateur guys, background. Right. They know each other.
Let's go.
It's a unification bout. The guy there is the man. I mean, Beterbiev is looked at as the man at 75.
Sure.
You beat Bivol, you solidify that crown. You're the man at 75. And then, like we said, if Canelo stays away from him, he stays away from him. Maybe he'll fight him in a couple of years. If not, we got all the guys you talked about.
Smith,
let them fight it out. You got Zordo. You got the winner of Joe Smith, Callum Johnson, right?
And that's it. And then I think that would shape up.
And we have you have Benavidez out there, who's
if he moves
tough guy. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's the deal. In my opinion.
So. Yeah. If he can't get Canelo at 68, he's going to move up.